I look forward to a time when we all sit around the table playing a board game together. I don't look forward to a life of sitting on the sofa playing computer games with me. It doesn't appeal in the same way. But I can see the way the world is going, and so can the board game manufacturers. They're desperate to try and make their games appeal to the computer generation. But everything they do just makes them seem even more old-fashioned to me. For example, Cluedo brought out a new version of the game a few years ago called Discover the Secrets. And it doesn't happen in a stately home anymore. Instead, it's set in a sort of The Only Way is Essex mansion. All the characters are different, and instead of an Agatha Christie-esque world, we're now in a Hello Magazine kind of world. So Colonel Mustard has become Jack Mustard. Once the most sought-after celebrity football player, age has finally caught up with him, now a sports pundit. I've never wanted to solve a murder while pretending I'm Alan Shearer, thank you. Miss Scarlet is now Cassandra Scarlet. She's at the centre of every social event and is the hottest star on the movie scene. She has the attention of all the celebrity magazines. Her biggest fear is that the press will uncover the shady things she did to claw her way to the top. And as you can see, she's quoted on the card saying, "What? You don't know who I am?" To which I can't help thinking, pretty good idea you might be Catherine Zeta-Jones. Now, that's how Cluedo are trying to court the younger generation with their computers. Monopoly are having a go as well. They've recently held a vote to choose new playing tokens, and amongst those in the running were a hashtag and an emoji, as if that could somehow make the game feel more modern. There's a difference here, isn't there? Cluedo is a role-play game. So when they changed the characters and the setting, they fundamentally changed the game. But the token you play with in Monopoly was never a part of your role-play. Nobody ever thought they were being a property-trading iron, did they? Sliding around. If you want to make it more of a realistic game, I've created a special variation of the game in which you play as a character who knows all about property trading. I call it Homes Under the Hammonopoly. It fuses the two great institutions, Homes Under the Hammer and Monopoly. I've commissioned an artist to make some special Homes Under the Hammonopoly tokens. So I've got a little tiny pewter Martin Roberts and a little pewter Lucy Alexander. I never got round to making a pewter Dion Dublin. To be honest, I didn't think he was going to last that long, and these custom tokens are quite expensive to make. And I thought, well, you know what, it'd be a bit pointless. I mean, he is an ex-Premier League football player, so it's easier, really, to just get one of those. I know it makes him look a bit awkward and big and out of place, but in a way, that just adds to the sense of realism of the game. Now, it isn't just the playing pieces that are different in Homes Under the Hammonopoly. As well as needing a banker in your group, you also need to have a DJ. Because every time you land on a square, somebody has to fire up just 3 or 4 seconds of incidental music which contains one word of relevance to the square on which you've landed. As a demonstration, I'll talk you through a few spaces on the board. Say you landed at the Old Kent Road, OK? You land on the Old Kent Road and you hear... in the Old Kent Road. Have a banana. Easy, you see, simple as that. There are some obvious ones to pick off. I'm loving angels instead. One of my favourites.
Wine. When the crowd say bowl, select.
Easy. But it isn't just the property squares that have music. Every square on the board has to be covered, so... Bit of a gimme, isn't it? I think the income tax... It's obvious when you know, isn't it? It's obvious when you know. I think possibly my favourite square on the whole board.
Confidence is a preference for the habitual voyeur of what is known as...
Park Lane. Now, obviously, Homes Under the Hammonopoly is only for special occasions. Most of the time, Monopoly in and of itself is sufficient. And the truth is, it doesn't matter what token you're using, the game is exactly the same. When the makers of Monopoly, Hasbro, they offered the public a vote. What they did, they offered up 64 potential tokens. That's 56 new ones and the 8 existing ones at the time. And the idea was that whichever 8 got the most votes, they would survive. Obviously, they had to give the public a prescribed list. They couldn't just go, name anything you like. Nobody's ever going to do that again. Now we've all learned our lesson face, haven't we? Nobody wants Christmas coming around and someone from Monopoly saying, yeah, one of our new tokens is Jimmy Savile. I don't... Sorry, guys. Not our fault. These are all things that have been official Monopoly tokens at some point in time. Of the 9 non-originals, those 2, the cat and the sack of money, were the first 2 to enter the game by public vote. Different pieces have come and gone over time. If you'd bought a set in the mid-90s, those there would not have been there. They would have been removed. Nor, of course, would those 2 down there. Now, in 1999, they had their first vote, and the winner was a sack of money. So they added it to the board, and of course, constitutionally, if a sack of money wins an election, it's only allowed to serve 2 terms, and so in 2007, they took it away without consulting the public again, until 2013, when it was time for a new vote. And this time, a piece was removed. We lost the iron and gained a cat. You see, they don't always land on their feet. They don't. Now, those have been the regular pieces in the game ever since, up until early this year, when they had another vote. And this time, 3 tokens were replaced. We lost the thimble, the boot, and the wheelbarrow. And in their stead came a T-Rex, a rubber duck, and a penguin. And, oh, people have kicked up a fuss. I don't doubt that this is going to happen every 3 or 4 years for a good long while now. In a few years' time, people will be upset that the traditional T-Rex is being replaced by some awful newfangled crack pipe. But you see, pointless, futile outrage is never far away these days, and when it's in the air, there is only one place that I will be heading. To the bottom half of the internet, ladies and gentlemen, to see what the world has got to say for itself. I have read every single comment I could find on every single story on this topic. I've taken my favourite of those comments and I've turned them into something that I like to call a found poem that I would like to perform for you now. Farewell and rest in peace, you 3 legends of the Monopoly board. When will this madness end? Is nothing sacred? Everything I know about this world, I learned from Monopoly. And now, everything I know about this world is wrong. This is not modernising it. How can it be? When one of the new pieces is a T-Rex. They died out hundreds of years ago. Like many families, we buy a new Monopoly game each Christmas. That way, we know we're staying up to date with any changes. Often, there are none. And we feel a bit let down. So it's nice to know that when Christmas comes around this year, we'll be getting 3 new pieces at last. Thank you, Monopoly. The iron was always my favourite, because it was easy to manoeuvre. I loved the thimble, because you could really put it on your finger, like an actual thimble. The boot was best, for obvious reasons. The boot and the car make sense, because you can walk or drive around London. A dog could walk around London, but could not buy any property. A cat is just silly. The battleship makes no sense whatsoever. It's not bloody Venice, is it? Birmingham has more canals than Venice. Fact. Irrelevant fact. I've never seen a cat. It doesn't surprise me that the thimble and the iron have gone. They're woman symbols. Get rid of the wheelbarrow. Nobody wants to be the wheelbarrow. I'll start a petition and deliver it to Hasbro myself. In a wheelbarrow. I'm a man and I've always liked the thimble, but then I do have quite small hands. I could even put it on my thumb. Thumble. Lol. Like most people here, I wish this was not happening. But then I guess it just goes to show that nothing is the same forever. None of us can stay who we were. We live in a state of flux. I don't know what flux means. But you're clearly talking sh1t anyway. I stay who I was. I am always the car. I thank you.